Welcome back, and thanks for joining us once again at the Pit Wizard Smoke Shack. My name's Billy Buick, and today we're talking poppers, boats, canoes, whatever name you know them by. We are taking some delicious butcher's own sausages, which are quite something all on their own, more on that later, and we are going to be splitting them and stuffing them with some of the most delicious ingredients you can imagine. It's all going to be cream cheese and cheddar cheese based, as the viral recipe from a couple of years ago dictates, but we're going to be adding to that an array of wonderful flavours just to really bring out the best in these sausages. And on top of that, we're then going to be feeding the entire neighbourhood, and hopefully not just getting my taste test this time, but getting the opinions of some of our friends and neighbours as well. So this is going to be sausage poppers, not one, not two, but 3 different ways. You don't want to miss this one. And each of these poppers is going to have a sauce that goes with them and a topping as well. So we'll start with the sauce for our Big Mac sausage poppers. And this of course is going to be our take on the Big Mac special sauce. So we'll start with half a cup of mayonnaise, followed by a splash of white wine vinegar. Then in with about 2.5 tablespoons of yellow mustard. 1.5 tablespoons of pickled sweet corn relish. If you don't have that to hand, you can use any sweet pickle relish, that will work just fine. 1/2 tablespoon of sweet paprika. 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder. 1/2 tablespoon of kosher salt. And 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder. And then just give that a mix. Okay, and with the sauce for our Big Mac sausage poppers done, let's get on to the filling. Starting off by frying some onions. There's a full white chopped onion going in there. And then we're going to add a pound of 80/20 ground beef, and you want to get that nice and brown all over. Remember to add some salt to your onions to stop them from browning too quickly, and also to begin building those layers of seasoning. And speaking of seasoning, make sure you add plenty of freshly ground black pepper to that pan as well. While your meat and onion mixture cools, you can start weighing out and shredding your cheddar cheese. And we want about 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese here, and that's going to be the same for each of the 3 poppers. And of course, what is a Big Mac without pickles or gherkins, depending on where you are? So we're going to be taking about 8 of these long strips, dicing them up finely and putting them in with the mix. So that's probably about 2 tablespoons of diced gherkins. Next up, you want to add a couple of tablespoons of your favourite meat rub. And I recently discovered this bacon miso honey rub from Angus & Oik Meat Collab. It's called Fool's Gold, and this is absolutely fantastic. Sweet, hot, umami. I'm using it on everything at the moment. So 2 tablespoons of that are going in, but you use whatever your favourite rub is. And with that added, it's time to add 14 ounces or thereabouts of soft cream cheese. This ingredient will be added to all 3 of the different types of poppers. make sure you season it well. And then back in with your now cooled ground beef and onion mix. Then give that all a really good stir. And for our Big Mac burger poppers, it's now all over but the stuffing. So let's move on to our sweet and smoky poppers. And as with the burger poppers, we're going to start the sweet and smoky poppers with the accompanying sauce. In this case, it's going to be a delicious sweet smoky barbecue sauce. So in with a cup of tomato ketchup. And then to that you want to add about 3/4 of a cup of soft brown sugar. 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. Tablespoon of honey, 2 tablespoons of mushroom ketchup, and this has got a wonderful spicy umami sort of flavour, but if you can't find this, feel free to substitute with some Worcestershire sauce. And then a tablespoon of dark soy sauce. Teaspoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of ground chipotle. To give that really nice sweet smoky flavour with just a little bit of heat to complement it all. Half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And let's make it extra smoky with a good dash of this hickory liquid smoke. A good dash is probably about a teaspoon, I think. And then get it over to the hob, pop it on a medium heat and give it a good stir to get all those flavours together. And when it just starts to bubble, leave it to simmer for 5 to 10 minutes and then take it off the heat, but do not let it boil. And once it's off the heat, add in a tablespoon or so of your favourite whiskey. I'm going with this monkey shoulder, but you can go with whatever you like. And then just stir that in to make sure it's all nice and incorporated, just to boost those smoky flavours even more. And that's your sweet and smoky barbecue sauce ready, so let's move on to the filling for these poppers. And first up, just like the burger poppers, it's going to be 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And next up, we're going in with about half a cup of finely chopped chorizo sausage. And this has got a wonderful sweet and smoky flavour, and meaty as well. It's just a perfect flavour for this sweet and smoky sausage popper. Next up, let's get smoky with this inherently sweet but also smoked paprika. And we're adding about a tablespoon there. And then about a teaspoon of sweet ground cinnamon. A pinch of nutmeg there, probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then let's really boost those sweet flavours with about 3 tablespoons of good maple syrup. And then a teaspoon of our liquid hickory smoke. And about 2 teaspoons of dried oregano to give some earthy depth to those smoky flavours. And then let's get some sweet smoky heat from about a tablespoon of chipotle powder. And then just like before, in with about 14 ounces of cream cheese. Give that all a really good mix. And then we're on to our hot and spicy poppers. And just like before, we're going to start with the sauce, and we're taking inspiration this time from hot and spicy buffalo wings, so we're going with a blue cheese sauce. So first up is about 3 tablespoons of sour cream, followed by about the same amount of mayonnaise. And you've probably spotted that my sour cream here has got some chives running through it. That was the only sour cream that I happen to have in the fridge at the moment, and that will work really well. In fact, I think the chives will actually add a different dimension to it, which I'm quite looking forward to, but you can add whatever sour cream you've got. Next in with about 1.5 teaspoons of raw garlic. It's probably about 1 large garlic clove, maybe 2 smaller garlic cloves, and just a small splash of white wine vinegar, about 1/4 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and then a twist of salt, but don't add too much salt because don't forget that blue cheese is going to be bringing some saltiness to this sauce. And then about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and in this case, for flavour and for aesthetics, we would say finely ground white pepper is definitely the best to use. And then the key ingredient to this sauce, about 1/2 cup of crumbled blue cheese. In this case we're using Roquefort, but you could use almost any blue cheese really. So Stilton, Gorgonzola, Sanagur, Shropshire Blue, whatever happens to be your favourite, I would say add that. And then just give that a good mix, leading it down with some full fat milk as and when needed, until you get the viscosity that you're happy with. And then let's move on to the filling for these hot and spicy sausage poppers. So first up, as I'm sure you know by now, 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Next, we're going in with about 2 tablespoons of finely chopped pickled jalapenos. I've gone for the pickle variety rather than fresh because I find them to have more fire than their fresh counterparts. And then 1 finely chopped dried habanero chili and 1 finely chopped dried and smoked naga chili. And let me tell you, these guys have definitely got some poke. They're pretty feisty. But don't forget, we're going to be adding cream cheese, and we've already got cheddar in there as well. So that's 2 dairy elements that are going to ameliorate the heat. And we don't really want to ameliorate the heat. We're advertising these as hot and spicy. So we want to really amp up that fire and make sure these have got plenty of kick. And we're not done with the chili yet. Let's go in with some cayenne pepper. Probably about 2 teaspoons. And then some sriracha sauce. The good hot stuff. And we're going with about a tablespoon and a half of sriracha sauce. About a tablespoon of hot ground paprika. And then to give this some more depth and more flavour, let's add about a tablespoon of ground cumin, along with about a teaspoon and a half of that lovely earthy oregano. A little more heat with about 2 teaspoons of finely ground black pepper. And we'll round out that heat with some more sweetness coming from about 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now it's time for a different kind of heat with 5 cloves of raw chopped garlic. Then in with 2 teaspoons of chopped bird's eye chili. And then about 1.5 teaspoons of chopped fresh coriander. Again, adding more flavour to round out and complement those different types of heat we've got going on in there. And then in with our familiar 14 ounces of cream cheese. Give it all a really good mix, and then that's our 3 fillings made, and it's on to the stuffing. So let's talk sausages. So the technique for making a sausage boat or popper or canoe or however you refer to them is going to be the same in every instance for these, so I won't bore you by showing you me doing every single one because I've got 24 to stuff. I'll just show you the first few so you get the idea. But what is worth noting here is that our butcher does some fantastically flavoured sausages. So I've chosen 3 of my favourites that I think will complement these fillings really well. So just so you know, we'll be going with the savoury umami-ness of yeast extract known as Marmite in the UK and cheese as the boat, as the carrier for our Big Mac burger fillings. And then we'll be going with sweet leeks and British pork as the boat for our sweet and smoky popper filling. And finally, it's a hot honey sausage that we'll be using as the boat for our hot and spicy poppers.
And as you may have guessed, these sausages are absolutely delicious, quite unusual but really tasty in their own right. You don't need to stuff them to make them great. So if you're interested, the butcher who sells them goes by the name of the Frustrated Farmer, so a shout out to the Frustrated Farmer. He ships nationwide, so I will pop a link to his shop down in the description of this video, so if you're interested in his sausages or indeed any of his produce, because it's all really very good, feel free to use that link to his online store. And I should mention, I'm not linked or affiliated or sponsored in any way by the Frustrated Farmer. I just love his produce, and I think you guys will as well. And so to make our poppers, we're just going to take a sharp knife and make a slit down the middle of one of these sausages. Now make sure you don't go all the way through the sausage, probably about half to 3/4 of the way is fine, and then just press out the sides to literally make it a boat, a receptacle, a carrier, ready for the filling that you're going to stuff it with. And then just repeat 24 times. I'll speed this up. In addition to our sauces, we also want to offer some toppings for our sausage poppers. So we're just going to do some simple shredded lettuce for our Big Macs, because I don't really think you can have a Big Mac without lettuce. And for our sweet and smoky sausage poppers, we're going to be doing some delicious fried off bacon bits. Finally, our hot and spicy sausage poppers will be topped with some lovely crispy onions. Again, all just to give some texture and some interest to these already delicious sausage poppers. And here they are in all their glory on the Masterbuilt. And they've been on here for about an hour and 20, an hour and a half. And we've just smoked them with some cherry wood because we think that flavour is quite mild and it will work well with all three of the different flavours of poppers we've got. And we've smoked them about 275. And as ever, the Masterbuilt has pretty much perfectly held that heat throughout that hour and a half it's been cooking. So now it's time to give them a probe, just see what temperature we're at. We're looking for 165 or anything above that really. So let's see if these guys are done. And that's looking pretty good to me. 200 there, 202. 198, yeah, these guys are done. So I'm going to turn the Masterbuilt down now to about 160, just so we're holding that temperature in the safe zone while our guests arrive, so they've got nice hot sausage poppers to look forward to.
Okay, and I've managed to snaffle off one of each of these poppers just to give them a taste before our guests start arriving and let you guys in on how they taste and how all those flavours have been working together. So let's dive in. I wish I could share the aroma of these with you. It's just fantastic. All those flavours we've put in, mixing with that fantastic cherry wood smoke, it just smells wonderful. So I'm going to end with the hot and spicy because I don't want to wreck my palate. And I know that is pretty fiery, and I want to be able to give an honest taste test on the other two. So I'm going to start with what I think is going to be my favourite, and that's going to be the Big Mac. So as you can see, we've already added our cheese slice, added some nice fresh lettuce there. Now in with our burger sauce. And I should mention that when our guests arrive later, we'll be serving these in hot dog buns just for convenience. But I'm going to be ridiculously bougie for this taste test. I'm going to be using a knife and fork just because I want to try a little bit of each. I don't want to snaffle all three of them, so just a little bite of each, see how they are. Let's dive in. And remember, this Big Mac burger inspired popper is also voted by those Marmite and cheese sausages from Frustrated Farmer, our local butcher. Cheers. Hell yeah. That is amazing. That is like a canoe full of Big Mac burgers. You get the kind of tang of the sauce first, as you do with the Big Mac, but then you're into the meat, you're into the savory, you're into the umami. The freshness of that lettuce really sort of picks it up as well, gives it some nice texture too. That is fantastic. I am very, very happy with that, and I'm trusting that our guests will be as well. That little lick of smoke around it, that cherry wood that we use, just gives it a little bit of oomph, a little bit of something different, but it's definitely connoting Big Mac burgers. And as one of three, that's a 10 out of 10. I don't know if we can go any higher than that, but let's find out by going in now for the sweet and smoky. And remember, with the sweet and smoky, we've got this lovely sweet smoky whiskey barbecue sauce. And the sweet and smoky is using as a boat the lovely pork and leek sausages from the Frustrated Farmer. Cheers. And cheers. That's absolutely beautiful. Just plumes of flavour rising in your mouth, and then the crack and snap of those bacon bits to really give a kind of juxtaposition with the texture. Obviously the cream cheese and the cheddar just adding a richness, as it did with the Big Mac burger flavoured poppers. But it's sweet and it's smoky, and you get the sweet first, but the smoke comes very quickly after it, and then they just tumble around on your palate like the warm, welcoming kind of embers of a fire, just tickling around your palate. That's 10 out of 10 again. I said the Big Mac was going to be my favourite. I can't choose between those two, to be honest. They're delicious. I think our guests are in for a treat. So, the warm, tickling plumes of smoke playing on your palate to what I suspect is going to be the raging inferno igniting all of your taste buds. Let's move on to the hot and spicy. Now this one's using the hot honey sausage from the Frustrated Farmer as its vessel. We've dressed it with some crispy onions for some texture, a little bit of sweetness to offset all that heat, and obviously some fresh bird's eye chili, because what's a little more heat among friends, eh? And remembering our blue cheese sauce, inspired by those hot and spicy buffalo wings that we love so much. I'm going to add a little bit of that. Just to be fair, we don't really want to cool this down. We just want to kind of complement those flavours with that kind of funky blue cheese richness. If you want hot and spicy, you don't want to temper it, do you? So let's dive in. Cheers. I don't know if you can see there, but I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but the coloration of this popper is very different to the other two. There's kind of like a threatening reddy orange tinge to this sausage, which is already making me nervous. I do like my stuff hot and spicy, but I know what chili's in here, so let's give it a taste. Ooh, okay, that's hot, that's spicy, that's as advertised, but it's also incredibly delicious. First of all, you get that crunch from the crispy onions and from those fresh chilies, and that's a really nice sensation as you bite in through the lovely soft cream cheese and cheddar cheese mixture, and then the heat begins. And the heat's a bit like a horror movie stalker. Just in the background first, you just see it in the shadows, you just sense it now and again. And then it becomes more bold and more bold until in the end he's in your face and he's attacking your taste buds with all this heat, but in a very pleasant way, because there's other flavours going on there as well. We've got cumin, we've got some coriander in there, so it's not just about raging heat, and also the different types of chilies are giving different types of heat and kind of galvanising different areas of your palate. Very complex, very flavoursome heat experience, and I would give that a 10 out of 10 as well. I cannot decide between these three. They're all delicious. We're going to have to wait and see what our neighbours have got to say. So we've got about 30 minutes before everyone's due to arrive, and then, as I said, we'll get the opinions of a couple of friends and neighbours to see what they think as well. So let's get cleaned down and get ready to feed the neighbourhood.
Go away. What's it called? I want to say it's girl.
Cheese, pickles, that kind of stuff. Right. These are sweet and smoky, and these are hot and spicy. Hot and spicy. Very nice. Very good.
What's that sauce? What's that green on there? It must smell amazing.
I'm not sure.
That's crispy bacon bits. Probably bacon. Smoky.
Good. I like it.
Wow, that's got a kick to it.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Big Mac one? The Big Mac one, yeah. Beautiful.
So I think it's reasonable to conclude that that was a resounding success and definitely worth all the effort. So thank you very much for joining us for the journey. My name's Billy Buick, this is the Pitwood Smoke Shack, and if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving us a like, leaving us a comment and subscribing to our channel. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Enjoy.
We will.
Okay, that's hot, that's spicy, that's as advertised, but it's also incredibly delicious. First of all, you get that crunch. First of all, you get that crunch from the crispy onions and from those fresh chilies, and that's a really nice sensation as you bite in through the lovely soft cream cheese and cheddar cheese mixture, and then the heat begins.